My name is Iona Scott and I make artwork about marine phytoplankton. These plants produce half the oxygen on the planet, and my aim as an artist is to visualise and magnify these creatures so that we can experience them on a human scale. The head of sculpture on my fine art degree was an avid scuba diver, and he showed slideshows of this underwater world. And he lent me a book on the Great Barrier Reef, and in that book I found a photo of a type of marine phytoplankton called Discosphaera Tubifera, and I fell in love with this plankton and decided to recreate it on a human scale. My journey started when I made a 6-foot version of a Discosphaera Tubifera plankton. As soon as I made this sculpture out of fiberglass and metal, I started to exhibit it in clubs and videos in London. I also really enjoyed taking it out into the world and putting it in raves, and I hung it off a crane by Battersea Power Station. I love the idea of bringing this huge magnified version of an invisible plant and bringing it into our world. In the early 90s, I went to San Francisco. When I arrived, I realised that I had to make a new version of my Discosphaera Tubifera so I could exhibit it there, and so I made a papier-mâché version. Both of these versions of my Discosphaera Tubifera were relying on external lighting to bring them alive. And ideally, the main aim was to create the lighting inside the sculpture. The properties of these types of marine plants are translucency and fragility. And the only materials that I could find to reproduce these properties were fiberglass and plastic, which were highly toxic materials. And obviously I couldn't use them because of the subject matter. And only recently, in 2015 to 2018, I discovered 3D printing, and this was a revolution because you can actually use materials that are non-toxic to recreate the sculpture, and they had the properties that I was looking for. With 3D printing and LEDs, I was able to bring the lighting element into my sculptures so that they become self-sufficient in their own right. And they can be shown in much larger variety of locations and lighting than would be normally available if they weren't lit. So as the main aim of my work is to promote awareness of these creatures, then making sculptures that were internally lit and became a product in their own right was actually very, very helpful and important to me. So the original idea was to use these beautiful shapes so that people could understand how they look sculpturally and become intrigued by them. And now I've developed 3 different designs with lights inside, and obviously as an object they are intriguing on a level of just as a beautiful object, but also they have a deeper meaning where people will look at the shapes and the object and hopefully will be inspired and intrigued to find out more about them. So after making the paintings, I realised that I could recreate these creatures in 3D animation by 3D modelling them with a computer. And this was the ideal way to recreate the properties of these creatures in 3D, and it was very well suited. And so I retrained in animation. I did an MA in computer animation and special effects at Bournemouth University, and then I set about making demo animation called Plankton World about how we can visit this world and seeing these beautiful plants. So the medium of computer animation was best suited to portray the qualities of these creatures and also to communicate their physical properties on a large scale so that people could actually experience them in 3D, and with stereoscopic 3D animation that also brought an extra level of 3D immersive contact and experience with these creatures, which is what I really wanted to do. So I have 2 aspects to my work, animation and sculpture. The sculptures work very well outside or inside as they are waterproof and they are self-illuminating. The animations work really well indoors as a room-size projection, or outdoors on screens at festivals, or as a stereoscopic 3D animation. The idea is that my work complements any conservation, but I'm very open to suggestions of collaboration. Can be just as pure visuals or as part of this huge subject, which is to do with marine phytoplankton and science and art collaborations to do with raising awareness and educating people about the importance of these plants. If you like my work and you'd like to collaborate, please get in touch.